Hey there, life groups, what is up? I hope that you are having a great week so far. And before we kick off into tonight's session, let me first start off just by saying thank you to every single one of you amazing life group leaders that are facilitating a group, whether it's in a home, in a cafe, in the church, wherever you are. Huge thank you. We couldn't do it without you. We wouldn't want to do it without you. So, hey, life groups, can we just give a very mini round of applause to all of our life groups right now? Just say, woo, we love them. We love them. So this week, we in church, we're in week 3 of our current series called About Everyone. We were speaking from a parable. It's basically a story that Jesus was telling a large crowd. And that large crowd was consisted with people that we wouldn't typically expect to be hanging out with Jesus, because the text in Luke 15 verse 1 tells us that they were notorious sinners. The difference between being a sinner and a notorious sinner is the reputation. So these were people that would be hanging out with Jesus, that everybody else in the community in the city would know that they're a massively sinful person. And not only did they like to hang out with Jesus once or twice, but the text even tells us that they would often hang out with Jesus. And when I read that, it really encourages me to make sure that that's exactly the type of church we need to be building here at Liverpool One. It's the type of church where people who maybe don't have any sort of church background, maybe they didn't grow up going to Sunday school, maybe they don't know the Bible like maybe some of you do, but people who have got a little bit of a questionable past and a little bit of a story. We need to be building an environment that makes it easy for people like that to come into church. We're building church in the same way that Jesus built the crowd. It's for notorious sinners that they can often come and hear what Jesus has to say. So not only do we appreciate that, but we also acknowledge that in the story that Jesus goes on to say in Luke chapter 15 is all about the prodigal son. But it's not actually a story about a son with a bad relationship with his father. It's a story about a broken home, and I'm sure in part that we can all relate to that. It's a story about a father that's got 2 sons, and both of whom have a broken relationship with their dad. And one turns around and says, Dad, I wish that you were dead. I want all my money now, everything that would be due to me in my inheritance. I want to live life, party hard now, even whilst you're alive. I want to live like as though you're dead. And then the other son found it really hard to connect with his father because his father showed kindness and compassion to the son that was so crazy when he came back, his relationship ended up being in a right mess. But I think that the overall premise of the talk on Sunday was just to encourage us along the lines of these 2 facts. If you're outside of the church and you're outside of the local house, yet feel like you're a million miles away from God, His arms are open and wide to receive you back home. You don't need to wait around on the peripheral anymore. You don't need to stand around thinking should I, shouldn't I? Just get right back involved. But also it speaks to those that are maybe like the second brother in the house, but still dysfunctional with the father. It encourages us that in the same way that the father said to that son, here I am, totally available to you. You can have it all. He said that to him, that we would approach God in exactly the same way too. So I guess that we would just want you to know, no matter where your position is, in the house, out the house, there's always a way back to the Father for you. So I hope that encourages you. And maybe tonight's first question that we can kick off with is simply this. Has there ever been a time in your life where you felt a million miles away from God and as though that God would not be welcoming of you? And if that is you, how did you handle it? How did it make you feel? How did you respond? And how did you end up coming back into the house? We would love to hear your story. Have a great night, guys. Enjoy Life Group.